Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tapping into Transit, the Transportation Riders United True webcast. My name is Iadipaolo. I am the outreach specialist at True, and we're very excited to have us today Becca Maher from the Vote Yes for Michigan Water, Wildlife, and Parks campaign. She's the campaign manager there. And also with her, Conan Smith of the Michigan Environmental Council. And they're here today to discuss Proposal 1 on our November ballot and kind of how that proposal, which is primarily focused on natural development and parks and recreation, how that can link to Detroit Transit. So at the very baseline, we're encouraging everybody to vote yes on Proposal 21, but we will unpack why in just a second. I'd like to introduce our guests. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thanks so much. And Andre, can I just say too, Transportation Riders United has been a longstanding member of the Michigan Environmental Council and really has led almost all of our work on transportation related issues for, oh gosh, it must be close to 20 years now. So thank you guys for being out there and fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I feel very honored to be part of this team, and thanks for the mention there, Conan. We know at Transportation Riders United, I think we stress the importance of environmental justice in the intersection of transit. So I guess first question, what is Proposal 1 and what is the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund?
Yeah, I'll dive right into that. Thank you so much for the opportunity to explain this proposal and the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund to your members and followers and network. Proposal 1 will be on the ballot this November. So some people have already received their absentee ballots and some people are going to be voting the day of. Either way, you'll be able to see Proposal 20-1 on your ballot as an opportunity to expand the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. So the MNRTF has been around since 1976, and it directs royalties from oil and gas from public lands towards land conservation, protection, and recreation development. It's been doing that for decades. It's impacted every county in the state and has had a real impact in the city of Detroit and the surrounding areas as well. So projects like the Outdoor Adventure and Discovery Center, the Riverfront and Milliken State Park, DeQuinder Cut, they've all received some support from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund. And you can find staple projects like that across every community pretty much in the state. So the trust fund has been a real success story. It has a cap on how much of this royalties can go into it, and that cap was reached in 2011. So now royalties that would go to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund are instead going to the State Park Endowment Fund, which has a similar mission. It's land acquisition and recreation development, but specifically for our state parks. So the State Park Endowment Fund also has a cap, and we haven't reached that yet, but Proposal 1 is a proactive measure to remove the cap on the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund so that when the State Park Endowment Fund reaches its own limit, these royalties will be directed to the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund so it can continue receiving these revenues to go directly towards our natural resources and access our outdoor spaces. So that's one change that it'll make in Proposal 1. And a second one is that it'll add redevelopment and renovation to one of the allowable uses of the trust fund. Currently, it's just development. And that's things like our trails, our parks, access to green spaces in our cities and across the rest of the state. And then it will also change the funding formula so that it will allow at least 25% of allowable annual expenses to go towards recreation development to match the minimum 25% that goes towards land acquisition. Those are the two main changes, and we'd be happy to go into any more detail, answer any questions about it. But overall, it's really about continuing the legacy of the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund and making sure that it continues to be around for future generations.
So in kind of summation, it's to support the Natural Resources Trust Fund and to increase the cap of, you said royalties, increase the amount of available funding from minimum or minimum of 25%?
So essentially, when a company drills for oil or gas on public lands, they have to pay the state a royalty fee for everything that they extract from those lands. What this will do is essentially make sure that we continue to collect those in perpetuity. The ability of us to do that right now could run out in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. As Becca said, we haven't reached the cap yet in the State Park Endowment Fund. But as soon as we do, then we stop collecting those royalties, and then we stop getting them for recreation uses and land acquisition uses. So this proposal would let us keep getting those dollars for those purposes moving forward.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I think that's a pretty good explanation. And of course, we've included the website at the bottom here, and we will in our posting as well. If people want to get into greater detail, I know some of these pieces of legislation can be kind of hefty, but thank you both for kind of unpacking that rather concisely.
Well, Becca and I have been learning a lot, Andre, through this whole process. MEC was a big supporter of it. We came in and I thought I knew what we were talking about. And all along the way, we have learned all the little nuances of the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund.
Transit is the exact same way. There's so many nuances and moving pieces sometimes taking the time to just have conversations like this and kind of unpack things at a kind of more basic level is really important. So we've established the importance of the trust fund and what it is and where it's going. Can either one of you speak on why is this important for Detroit Transit and or the people of Detroit? Why should people, bus riders in the D, vote yes on November 3rd?
The picture on the screen right now tells a lot of the story. The Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund and the State Park Endowment Fund both are used for big projects like linear trails, like the DeQuinder Cut. So we know that transit ought to be a bigger part of our mobility equation in Southeast Michigan, but we still have last mile problems, right? So making sure that we have non-motorized access throughout the city and the region is an important part of that equation as well. So bike trails, walking trails, hiking trails, that's one of the kinds of development investments, redevelopment investments that the trust fund is able to make. Also, we want to see a greater proportion of amenities available to more people within a short drive. So by expanding the ability of the trust fund to invest in urban projects, we can make sure that people who live in population dense areas like the city of Detroit, that they have access to high quality recreational amenities and natural areas. We're working with the Detroit Zoo, for example, right now on a project that they have to create a nature center in Macomb County that would focus on water and wildlife habitat. If we can get some funding from the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund for that project, it'll happen all the faster. And then right in our region, within 45 minutes of everyone in our region, millions of people would be able to access a site like that. And we'd want to make sure they can access them by transit. I know true members are keenly aware of the Regional Transit Authority master plan and the efforts to fund that. If you think back to where that map takes us, it is to hundreds and hundreds of local and state parks in our metropolitan region. You get access to those through public transportation. And we want to make sure that the amenities when you get there are high quality, they're fun, they're diverse, they're interesting. And that's what the trust fund is really used for.
Becca, anything to add?
You covered that pretty well. I would just say that the trust fund has really impacted the city of Detroit, the metro area, and the state as a whole immensely since it was started decades ago. And then this proposal allows it to continue doing that really important work. It also allows it to be a little bit more flexible with its funding, to prioritize the projects that are important to communities that are being proposed by our cities and townships and counties across the state. And everything that Conan said pretty much tied that together pretty well.
Mm-hmm. So to increase the diversity of both transportation and recreation opportunities across the community, and to really kind of root those dollars in the recreational development, like you said, with the zoo, and kind of breaking new ground in some of these natural resource development projects.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So just to wrap up here, I'm in the ballot. I'm ready to vote. Where on the ballot can I find proposal 1? How do I actually vote yes? Make it simple for me.
That's a really good question, because everyone knows what to look for at the top of the ballot, but when you get into things like this, you need to look a little further down. So there's a section that's the statewide ballot proposals. We're the first one there. I believe it is the top of the back of your ballot. Although that might depend on the community, it might be bottom of the front, but it's after you elect your president and your federal and state level elected officials. You'll see Proposal 20-1. It has a summary of what this will do, expanding the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund and State Park Endowment Fund. You can fill in the bubble yes, and then you're good to go. And if you have not yet gotten your ballot, you can go to waterwildlifeparks.com, and there's a pledge to vote yes there. So you can keep in touch with the campaign that way and make sure you're up to speed by the time your ballot does arrive, or by the time you get to your ballot box.
Awesome. Thank you for making it simple for us there. Conan, any final thoughts before we wrap here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again. True has been a great advocate for positive developments in the Southeast Michigan region for many, many years. And we think that this is just one of those that supports the mission of your organization and the high quality of life we want to see in Detroit and the metro area.
Much agreed, sir. I think all of these kind of, again, moving pieces work together to create a better quality of life for everybody across the region. So with that note, thank you both to our guests today for their time and participation. We greatly appreciate it. Vote yes on Proposal 1 this election day. And if you're here and you've enjoyed this content, if you enjoyed this conversation, all of this is made possible by the support from our membership and from our audience. So please take a second, visit DetroitTransit.org for all your Detroit transit advocacy needs, video content, stories from writers, legislative updates. And if you're not yet, be a member, get into the know. Thanks again, Becca and Conan, and stay tuned for our next episode of Tapping into Transit. My name's Andre. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
All right. So long.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.